Tonight you'll hear 3 real-life stories. Ordinary nights that turned into something terrifying. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. And don't look behind. Story 1. The Screaming Man on the Road. I'm 26 and live in a townhouse in the far suburbs of a small city. I usually work closing shifts, getting off around 10 or 11 p.m. Most nights I stay home gaming with my friends until late. My days all blurred together in the same pattern, until one night a couple of months ago. That week at work had been rough, and I wasn't in the mood to hang out or even get online. But I couldn't sleep either. Around 2 a.m., bored and restless from watching YouTube, I decided to go for a walk. I didn't do it often, though every time I did I found it calming, especially at night when everything was quiet and still. I threw on a hoodie, locked up, and started walking without a real plan. I took my usual route that led from my townhouse complex into a neighborhood of older, modest homes. The whole place was silent. No lights, no noise, just me and the sound of my own steps. It was peaceful at first. Eventually, I realized I'd walked much farther than I usually did, reaching a stretch where the houses were more spread out and surrounded by thick woods. The road got narrower, the lights dimmer. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a scream. It was a man's voice, not a cry for help, but like he was trying to get someone's attention. It echoed through the trees so strangely that I couldn't tell where it came from. I stopped, listened, and saw nothing. After a half-minute, I shrugged it off and kept walking. The farther I went, the more uneasy I felt. The streetlights grew faint, and the houses that were visible looked abandoned, broken windows, peeling paint, yards overgrown. Even the road seemed neglected. I started to wonder if I'd wandered into an abandoned part of town. Then the scream came again, louder this time, closer. I turned around. The silence that followed was suffocating. I could barely see down the road behind me. My nerves were on edge, and I decided it was time to head back. As I hurried down the road, I heard the scream once more, behind me again. I spun around and saw a man standing in the middle of the road, wearing dark clothes, walking toward me. I didn't wait to find out more. I turned and walked quickly, then faster. Every few seconds I looked back, but he was gone. That somehow made it worse. I moved as fast as I could until I finally made it back to the neighborhood and, eventually, home. I locked my door, got some water, and tried to calm down. But just as I sat down, I heard shuffling outside my front door, then a loud knock. I froze. Slowly I went to the door and listened. Then I looked through the peephole. There was a figure standing there, dressed in dark clothing. My stomach dropped. It was the same man from the road. He had followed me home. I backed away and quietly called 911. The man knocked several more times before everything went silent. When I looked again, he was gone. The police showed up, took my statement, and searched the area. They didn't find anyone. They thought it was strange, but nothing came of it. For weeks after that, I kept waking up to heavy knocks on my front door in the middle of the night. Every time when I looked, no one was there. It's been a while since the last knock, but I still feel uneasy. I don't know who that man was, why he screamed, or what he wanted. But I can't shake the feeling that I narrowly avoided something truly awful that night. Story 2. The Passenger. A few years ago, I was working as a Lyft driver. I also did Uber, but in my town, Lyft had more traffic. I loved the freedom, but it made me terrible at keeping a schedule. Being in my mid-20s, I often stayed up late and worked overnight shifts. One night started like any other. I began driving around 11 p.m., completing a few drop-offs before getting another ride request. Since there weren't many passengers that late, I accepted every request that came through without hesitation. About 10 minutes into this ride, I realized the pickup location was unusual. It was leading me away from town, into a rural area with no houses or businesses. I figured maybe the passenger's car broke down or they were lost, so I went anyway. When I arrived, it was around 1 or 2 a.m. The place was completely empty, no lights, no buildings, just a stretch of dark, forested road. I waited and messaged the rider, but no one replied. After a while, I canceled and started heading back toward town. A few minutes later, I got another request, from almost the exact same location just a mile down the road. That wasn't too strange. Sometimes the app glitches and riders have to reorder. Thinking it was the same person, I turned around. When I got there, I saw a man standing on the roadside. He was wearing jeans, a gray hoodie, and a duffel bag. He got in quietly, and I noticed his drop-off location was only about 5 minutes away, also in the middle of nowhere. As I drove, he didn't say much, but I could feel his eyes on me through the mirror, watching every move I made. The tension was heavy. When we reached the drop-off spot, there was nothing there, just trees and darkness. Before I could ask if this was the right place, he said flatly, "Get out of the car." I looked back and saw a gun pointed at me. Heart racing, I stepped out. He made me walk ahead of him into the woods. I tried to talk to him, plead, reason, but he said nothing. His silence was worse than shouting. We walked for what felt like forever, deeper and deeper into the trees, until he suddenly said, "Stop." I knew what was about to happen. My instincts kicked in. I bolted into the woods. He yelled for me to stop, then a gunshot echoed behind me. I didn't stop running. After what felt like hours, I stumbled onto a small road with a few houses. A man inside one of them helped me call the police. When they searched the area, my car was gone. So was the man. The account he used for the ride turned out to be fake. 4 months afterward, I kept getting ride requests from that same remote area. Every time I called the police, but they never found anyone. Eventually, the paranoia got too bad and I quit driving altogether. Story 3. The Man in the Closet. It was a rainy Sunday and I'd stayed home all day. The weather gave me an excuse to be lazy, just lounging on the couch, half asleep. Around 10 p.m., I decided to drive out and grab some fast food since I didn't feel like cooking. The rain was pouring hard and the streets were empty. When I got back, I noticed something strange. The light in my upstairs bedroom was on. I always turned off all the lights when leaving, and I hadn't even been upstairs that day. I brushed it off thinking maybe I forgot and went inside. But when I got upstairs to turn it off, all the lights were off, completely dark. None of the rooms had been touched. I stood there for a while, uneasy, then convinced myself it was probably just the headlights reflecting on the window. I went back downstairs, ate, and started watching TV. I must have dozed off because I kept waking up with this awful feeling, like someone was watching me. It happened again and again. Finally, I turned on all the lights, but it didn't help. The dark hallway by the stairs made me feel even worse. Eventually, I decided to go to bed. Just as I reached the stairs, a light upstairs flicked off. I froze. My heart dropped. Slowly, I climbed the steps, whispering hello into the dark. The rain tapping on the roof made everything more eerie. When I turned the bedroom light back on, something moved in the corner of my eye, the closet door. It opened slightly. And through the crack, a pair of eyes were staring back at me. We made eye contact for a second before the door swung open and a man stepped out. He didn't charge or shout, he just started walking toward me, smiling in this disturbing, almost familiar way. I ran downstairs and out into the rain, calling the police. As I waited outside, I saw the man burst from my front door and disappear into the darkness. When officers arrived, they found my back door broken and the lock smashed. The man hadn't looked wet. Meaning, he'd been inside my house long before I returned. If you like the stories, like the video and subscribe for more.